One of the president's frontrunners for the Supreme Court is a federal appeals judge from Indiana, whose perceived views on abortion are being closely scrutinized. So we decided to take a closer look at Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett received a shocking introduction to Washington politics when she faced off with Democratic senators last year at her confirmation hearing to sit on the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals.
The dogma lives loudly within you, and that's of concern.
Barrett's response was measured but on point.
If you're asking whether I take my faith seriously, and I'm a faithful Catholic, I am, although I would stress that my personal church affiliation or my religious belief would not bear on the discharge of my duties as a judge.
It is the 46-year-old's perceived views on the intersection of faith and the law that has drawn praise from conservatives and concern among progressives. She told a 2006 Notre Dame Law School graduating class, quote, "Your legal career is but a means to an end, and that end is building the kingdom of God. If you can keep in mind that your fundamental purpose in life is not to be a lawyer, but to know, love, and serve God, you truly will be a different kind of lawyer." The rhetoric matches that of her mentor, Justice Antonin Scalia, for whom she clerked in 1998. She recalled he was a tough but fair boss.
In these conferences where you debated the merits of cases, you really had to be on your feet. You had to know your stuff inside and out. You had to be articulate.
Like the late Justice, Barrett has a large family. She's the mother of 7 children. Barrett's talked about the challenges of juggling a busy home life and an academic career as a law school professor. But it was her successful political audition to serve as a judge that sources say impressed the White House. Much of the Senate's focus was on abortion rights.
And you have no personal beliefs as to whether Roe was correctly decided.
I'm sure that every nominee before you has beliefs about that precedent and many other, but all nominees are united in their belief that what they think about a precedent should not bear on how they would decide cases.
Barrett was more pragmatic 2 years ago, just days before the presidential election, about the chances Roe v. Wade would be overturned in the coming years.
I don't think the core case, that Roe's core holding that, women have a right to an abortion, I don't think that would change. But I think the question of whether people can get very late-term abortions, how many restrictions can be put on clinics, I think that would change.
Some conservatives claim it is Judge Barrett's faith that could turn out to be her biggest problem, at least for some senators. David French at the National Review says Amy Coney Barrett is at the peak of her profession. She shares faith practices with millions of her co-religionists. Her faith experience is their faith experience. And if progressives seek to block her from the nation's highest court because of it, they'll betray our nation's founding ideals. Let's talk about it with former Arkansas Governor, Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. He joins us now live to weigh in. Governor, what do you make of this conversation that was so pointed with her, especially during her Senate confirmation for the circuit court level, about what she really believes? The questions are sort of, so you really believe in the Bible? That's the tone a lot of people felt like she was getting.
Yeah, I was wondering, are we still in America? It used to be that we said that we didn't want a person to establish a particular religion. Now it seems like that people like the senator from San Francisco would say, you're acceptable only if you have no religion whatsoever. That's absurd. Of the Supreme Court, 5 are Catholic, 3 are Jews, and 1 is an Episcopalian. I could argue, Shannon, that we really ought to have an evangelical. But you know what? I don't care what the religious background is. I want a constitutionalist. I want someone who approaches the job of a justice of the Supreme Court with a very clear understanding that it's not their job to bring their personal views to their decisions, but it's their job to look at what the words of the Constitution say. Now, they can't separate from it. I'm refreshed that Amy Coney Barrett is a person who takes her faith seriously. Good for her. I'd hate for someone to say, I'm a Christian, but I'm not much of one because I don't really believe that stuff. Well, then don't be one. Then I would say she's a phony. I don't want her as a justice. I like that she's sincere and genuine, and I don't think that ought to be a factor it's going to be hard for some of these Democrats who were for her in the 7th Circuit to suddenly say, something happened, I'm not for her anymore.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely got a number of those votes. And key people like Senator Donnelly, obviously from Indiana, who is in a tough re-election race and will have to think very hard about that vote, should she be the nominee. Now, I want to read a tweet this weekend from Supreme Court analyst and author Jeffrey Toobin says this. He says, see the new U.S. Supreme Court clearly. Abortion illegal. Doctors prosecuted. Gay people barred from restaurants, hotels, stores. African Americans out of elite schools. Gun control banned in 50 states. The end of regulatory state. If that's what's coming, I don't think anybody is looking forward to that, Governor.
Shannon, quite frankly, I think in future medical school discussions, when they say here are symptoms of insanity, they're going to show that tweet from Jeffrey Toobin and say this is what happens when a person loses his mind. My heavens. This is such a departure from reality when these people go to these hyperbolic comments, and that was over the top. This is not what this is going to be about. Now, look, I think legitimately, I'd love to see the Supreme Court take up the issue, but not so much from the standpoint of the Roe v. Wade decision, which was based on privacy. I think the real issue that someday is going to bubble up to the Supreme Court is personhood. Because if it's personhood, remember, the 5th and 14th Amendment guaranteed that a person cannot be denied life or liberty without due process. Now, if a person includes an unborn person, then they should be protected under the 5th and 14th Amendments. That is going to be a tough argument for the Supreme Court to deny, because they're going to be looking like they decide that some people aren't really people. We did that with Dred Scott in 1857. It did not end well. I'd like to see us maybe make a better decision this time.
Yeah, you know, a lot of folks on the left, when you talk about personhood and all of those legislative efforts that have happened at the state level, they've definitely got great concerns with that being a legal theory. So we'll see. But things continue to change. We learn more over the years, and we'll see. Monday, we'll learn who the person is going to be, and we'll see how the left and the right react. Governor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Shannon.